Hey everyone, guess who's back? It's the commish back here with another LOC recap here after week 12, only 2 weeks left in the regular season. Things are starting to get exciting. And of course, we start off with Dynasty. Looking at Dynasty, wasn't too many close games. There was a happening that happened where Green Lightning really didn't look like he stepped the lineup. This is the co-commish. And really, I think could have beat the Mother Tucker. And we're going to talk about penalties there. I don't care if he's the co-commish or not. He accepted the fact that there should be penalties. The closest game was Clengy beating Subotica Spartans in the Battle of the Brothers by 6. And when you look at that international division, it puts Subotica Spartans potentially, I think, out of the playoffs. So that's got to hurt when your own brother puts you out. But that's exactly what happened. So let's unpack each division here like we normally do. So mixed bag division. So this is where things are going to get interesting because I'm going to relate it to Flex 14. Because week 13 is just a leaping stone to Flex 14. And looking at it here, Golden Knights and Memphis Devil Dogs are 1-1 against each other. So if the standings remain the same, so if Devil Dogs can keep pace with Golden Knights the way it stands, he would get a flex game for the division because he could go 2-1 against Golden Knights with the same record. We've always said that's a way things could go down. So the mixed bag division very well could be decided on Flex 14. Golden Knights does have a tougher game this week, week 13, so that could make things interesting. Looking at the Canadian division, it's Age Crew and Cowichan Chicken Turtles 1-1. So what would have to happen for that to be a divisional game is Age Crew would have to lose this week, and Cowichan Chicken Turtles would have to win. That's the only chance that could be a Flex 14 game for the Canadian division, which very well could happen, of course. American division, we already know that one's sorted out, right? Obviously, no more running away with things, but Killer Sheep with the loss now on the outside looking in with all the tied 6-6 teams. So that's got to hurt Killer Sheep, I'm sure. And then looking at the international division, Kalenji is 0-2 versus Finito. That's why Finito has the tiebreak right now, at least for the international division. Swahino is 2-0 versus Finito. And then Swahino and Clengy are 1-1. So there's going to be a lot to unpack for that international division, but I do have a feeling that obviously there's going to be a game there for the division for Flex 14. You can see the points for, I'm not going to reward it yet until the end of the season, but it is pretty clear No More is going to likely win another prize there, 400 points ahead of Age Crew, who's second place, and then Clengy's now third place. You can see Deuce Bombers is dead last here, but because of his LOC Tier 1 results, and we'll get into that later, obviously, he's not going to be nominated for the Hugh Jackson yet because he's making the playoffs at Tier 1. Green Lightning, though, is one nomination for sure for the Hugh Jackson here, folks. We'll get into it with this Tier 1 record as well. But he's 3-9 here. The dramatic mistake of not even really setting a lineup this week, and you can see that's reflected in the lottery odds. You can see Deuce Bombers has 10 ballots. It says Green Lightning now 8 ballots -1. So he will be penalized a ballot no matter where he finishes this year in the standings. So that just increased Deuce Bombers odds, obviously, if he finishes second there to get the first overall. So there will be the 1 ballot penalty. Usually it's just a warning, but considering the impact where Mother Tucker really loses a lot of ballots because of the win, definitely Green Lightning will get penalized the 1 ballot. Looking at games of the week, I got some beauties. Okay, so Killer Sheep 6-6. He has to win this one as he'll take on Clengy 7-5, who's fighting for the international division prize. That's going to be a beauty. Next one, Swahino, you could see also at 6-6, taking on No More. So Swahino is one of the higher scoring teams. So I believe he's 4th in the league in scoring. So No More, that's not going to be an easy one to continue the perfect record. And then the last one I got for you, lots to unpack because we just talked about the tiebreakers. Cowichan Chicken Turtles taking on Golden Knights. So if Golden Knights loses that one, for sure Devil Dogs is going to get a game. And if Cowichan wins and Age Crew loses, well, then we know Cowichan's going to get a shot at the Canadian division for Flex 14 as well. So lots going on in Dynasty. Still there's 3 divisions still to be decided. And I think that's the most out of any league in the format at the moment. All right, folks. So now we get into tier three and lots to unpack here in tier three as well. Lots going on, and I'm really excited to bring this to you. So you can see Family Discounts remains 12-0. Pretty easy win against Ooh Spicy. The closest game this week, though, everybody was watching. Cannonballs 0.12 points over Hot Chuba Time Machine. And what a trickle down effect that game's going to have. None of the other games were really close this week as they were kind of taken out. So how does it look? Well, again, we're talking about Flex 14 and the tiebreakers. That's going to dominate the conversations this week. Here's the scenarios. New England Turncoats is 2-1 versus Hot Chuba Time Machine. So at the moment, with him only being a game back, when there's a division to be decided, that's always the game that's going to happen. So right now, if the season stayed as is, Hot Chuba and New England Turncoats would play for the division. Okay, so if New England Turncoats can keep pace, and he's got to eat a bag of nicks this week, he's got to win that one. He has a chance at the division for Flex 14 against Hot Chuba Time Machine. That's going to be huge. Why that would happen moving forward too, folks, is with the new prize structure, division money is on the line, right? So that's why we would do it, and we're going to do it this year. Black Dog is 3-0 versus My Wife is Hotter. So here's how this works. If Black Dog goes 9-4, and sorry, Black Dog should be ahead of My Wife is Hotter there in the standing. So because of that, so my mistake there. Um, if Black Dog goes 9-4 and My Wife is Hotter goes 8-5, I'm not going to give My Wife is Hotter a chance at Black Dog because there's no point, because Black Dog has already beat him 3 times. Now, if they go into Flex 14 with a tied record, they will play each other for that division. Okay, so just kind of putting that one out there. And then I'll also say for the 3 teams that are looking for that last spot, the only teams that played was Ooh Spicy beat Turncoats. Turncoats never played Throwbacks, and Throwbacks never played Ooh Spicy. So those games would likely go to a tiebreak of points for. But right now, it looks like the games that could happen in Flex would be My Wife is Hotter versus Black Dog if they have a tied record for that division, and New England Turncoats versus Hot Chuba Time Machine for that last playoffs or for that last divisional spot. And essentially, what it would mean, I know you're probably listening, throwbacks, you would probably get a shot at Ooh Spicy depending on where you guys land this week, right? Just to make it even on terms of who's going to make the playoffs. So there's a lot to unpack. And honestly, when it comes time for me to put that Flex 14 schedule together, I'll have the reasoning behind it and try to keep it fair for everybody. You can see the top scoring team is still myself. Black Dog is now second with My Wife is Hotter. 2 great international teams this year. Really liking the competition there in that division. Also love the new owner In It to Lose It. She looks like she's going to be active, so let's be happy about that, folks. She does look good and already improved her lowest scoring to now only the 3rd lowest scoring team in the league, passing Eat a Bag of Nicks. Talking about Hugh Jackson candidates, I still think Sinner Tiger 21 is still a Hugh Jackson candidate, even after the win over New England Turncoats this week. You can see 4-8. The reason why I'm still putting Sinner Tiger in the bucket, at least in this tier, is that lowest scoring total, 28:02:15. She has a new candidate, though. I am going to put Eat a Bag of Nicks in there as well now as a Hugh Jackson candidate, 3-9, 28:07.5. Scoring total, the only reason I think Center Tiger 21 is a better candidate for the Hugh Jackson is she's been here a hell of a lot longer than Eat a Bag Nicks, and that's his first year here. So, of course, lots to unpack, folks, but I will say games of the week. I'm only going with one. Okay, so you're only voting on the one. It's going to be Black Dog versus Hot Chuba Time Machine. Why is that huge? Well, again, if Hot Chuba loses, and New England Turncoat Wits are definitely playing for the division. And then if somehow New England Turncoats could beat Hot Chuba Time Machine, there's a scenario where he might not even make the playoffs. Okay, so that's how big it is. Remember, all year it looked like Hot Chuba Time Machine was going to get that playoff bye. And just so you guys know, it should be say Black Dog on that playoff bye because he did beat My Wife is Hotter 3 times. So I apologize for not making that update, Black Dog. So if you're listening, you are the guy on the playoff bye. But yeah, it's going to be exciting, and that's why that's the game of the week because there's so much. If Black Dog wins that, he clearly wins the international division by having beaten My Wife is Hotter. If My Wife is Hotter lost, of course. And again, how important would that game be the following week with Hot Chuba and New England Turncoats? It would just be massive, right? So, anyways, hope you're enjoying the season so far, and I hope you guys can't wait till Flex 14. It's actually my favorite week before the playoffs. All right, folks. Now we get into tier two, and tier two's got so many playoff races going on. When we unpack the divisions here, there's only one division left to be decided, and that's CDN Division Two. You can see Jordan McLovin and Silver Bullets fighting each other, hopefully for that division lead. Both are making the playoffs right now. That's the good news for both. But you can see it's a little bit precarious for Silver Bullets and a bunch of the other 6-6 teams. You see Van Isle Echidnas is the 6-6 team on the way out. Bishop Sycamore pretty much knocked Morning Chuba out of the playoffs with a win this week. I don't think there's really any hope that Morning Chuba can make the playoffs. So that was a huge win for Bishop Sycamore, proving that he is a playoff team and Morning Chuba is not. Highest scoring team is still Johnny Eight Balls at 3140. They're Scottish Highlanders, Purple Unis. Nothing's changed there. You can see Biscuits and Gravy is still the lowest scoring team in the league, and for that, he will be a Hugh Jackson candidate still, as well as Say My Name. You can see Say My Name 2-10, the worst record in Tier 2 and second lowest scoring team. So Say My Name and Biscuits and Gravy are definitely still in the Hugh Jackson race. So we had Sinner Tiger 21, Eat a Bag of Nicks in Tier 3, Biscuits and Gravy and Say My Name are in that bucket as well. Looking at the games last week, there really wasn't anything all that close, to be honest. The closest game was actually Team 14 taking care of Say My Name. So again, Say My Name just lost to a team that doesn't even exist now, folks. So, you might want to think about that when you're talking about who you're voting for on the Hugh Jackson race. Looking at CDN Division 2, of course, the way that looks right now, McLovin and Silver Bullets were 1-1 this year. So even if the records remain the same as is, Silver Bullets would get that chance to go 2-1 and have the same record as Jordan McLovin and winning the division. So there's definitely a high probability that Flex 14 could have that game that's going to decide a division. And that actually takes me to my game of the weeks. Jordan McLovin versus Scottish Highlanders. How big is that one? Jordan McLovin obviously would love a win, try to keep ahead of Silver Bullets, but it's also Scottish Highlanders trying to keep the perfect season going against a good team. So that's going to be a hell of a game. Johnny Eight Balls versus Memphis Mafia. The opportunity there for Memphis Mafia would be if he gets the win, he potentially could play me again in Flex 14 and try to get the second seed instead of the third seed, which could be huge in terms of who you're playing. And then the other game I have is Silver Bullets against Next Door Neighbors. So Next Door Neighbors look like a playoff team all year. She has the opportunity to still kind of be spoiler and take out Silver Bullets, because if Next Door Neighbors won and Jordan McLovin at won, Silver Bullets has no chance of getting that division, right? So that's going to be a huge game there for both those teams. And I can honestly say, it's been a really competitive year for Tier 2. When you look at the playoff matchups, it has changed a bit. I mean, Scottish Highlanders do get Sandusky Sandmen. I mean, that's not an easy game in round one when you finish 12-0. Myself would play on Silver Bullets as it stands. Memphis Mafia would get Purple Unis, and right now it'd be Jordan McLovin and Bishop Sycamore. So all those games don't look easy in the playoffs. And honestly, Tier 2 has been so competitive this year. I think anyone could win those games in round one. I'm really excited to see what happens. All right, folks. So we've made it to Tier 1 here, and I think the closest game this week was actually me versus Too Good for a Name. Looked like it was about 4 points is what was decided there. Looking at all the other games, I didn't really see anything that close at all. Well, I guess Subotica beating Swahino by 6. So isn't that weird? Two good teams taking out the two teams that are trying to survive, and they were very close games for sure. So again, we awarded another division champion, right? So No More is division champ in the American division. Congrats to him. There's still 2 divisions that need to be decided. If Billsy Bobs wins this week, he will win the Maple Leaf division. Looking at the tiebreak scenarios there against him in the 6, the 6 would have to win at this stage, and then Billsy Bobs would have to lose for the 6 to have a chance at the Maple Leaf division. I believe they were 1-1 for the year. I don't know 100%. For whatever reason, I didn't make that note, but I'm pretty sure they were 1-1. You can see Finito and Sabatica definitely running away with the international division and making the playoffs. And we already unpacked that Hoare and the 12th man will play Flex 14 for the red and white, no matter what happens this week, because of the 1-1 tied record this year. So that's going to be a thriller come Flex 14. You can see there are a bunch of teams tied at 6-6. There's 3 teams tied at 6-6 for that last playoff spot. You got Deuce Bombers, you got Banjo Blitz, and you got the Mother Tucker fighting for that last spot. Looking at points for, Finito is the first team to get over 3,000 here in Tier 1. He's got a full 100, more than 100-point lead on me, so that's likely going to give him a prize here with only 2 weeks to go, unless there's some huge differences in points. And then Deuce Bombers, of course, in third place, and that's why Deuce isn't in the Hugh Jackson race this year, because he's done really well here in terms of managing his team and getting it into the playoffs when it looked grim. Lowest scoring team is still Sky Blue Army. I think Sky Blue Army is the worst team, and somehow I think likely is going to survive somehow, unless the Age Crew Ramrod's too good for a name and Sueño can find wins this week. And just so you know, the way it's ending right now, it would be 17 versus 20 and 18 versus 19 in Flex 14 if those teams don't win. Okay, I do think the Ramrods has a very winnable game against Sky Blue Army, and that's the only team that I think is going to win this week out of the survival teams. And if that happens, it might still be 17 versus 20, 18 versus 19. It really depends. I'll have to analyze it and try to make it fair. The only thing is 17 versus 20, then if Ramrods wins, could literally be Sky Blue versus Age Crew, right? So that I don't know if it'd be very fair to Too Good for a Name and Sueño to play, and essentially one of those teams would essentially drop because H Crew would get that easy game against Sky Blue. And I don't know if I want to do that to either Too Good or Sueño, to be perfectly honest with you folks. And I'm willing to open it up to discussion, but I just think it would be unfair to do that to the active teams when Age Crew is retiring. So I might have to do it where the 19th place team would have to play the Age Crew, who likely would be 20th. And that's going to determine who wins that game, right? Because I would probably have the other 3 and 9 team play maybe Sky Blue and guarantee a win there. I don't know. I'll have to figure it out. I want a true survival game, though. There will be a true survival game. It's just I don't know if I'd do that to Too Good and Sueño, them playing each other for survival, when really one of those teams should just play the Age Crew and have a chance to win or lose for their fate, right? So we'll decide that when we see what happens here in week 13. I do have a few game of the weeks for you. Before I get into that, though, I will say that Green Lightning is definitely a Hugh Jackson candidate. We saw second to worst team in Dynasty, as well as last in his division here in the Maple Leaf. Plus, he's co-commish set a bad example this week by really not setting the lineup. And to me, that definitely puts him in the Hugh Jackson race. So we had 2 in Tier 2 there, 2 in Tier 3. I am now going to leave the Mother Tucker off the list, even though he hasn't made the playoffs in either league. He did get the win in both leagues this week. So right now, the only team that I'm going to put up for the Hugh Jackson out of the LOC Tier 1 is right now only going to be Green Lightning. But obviously, when we head into Flex 14 and at the end of the regular season, if one of those other teams drops, like Too Good for a Name or Sueño, they very well could be on that Hugh Jackson list. It's just Sueño's done good in Dynasty. So really, it'd come down to maybe Too Good for a Name or Ramrods. But again, we'll see how it all plays out, folks. My game of the week candidates: Banjo Blitz versus Deuce Bombers. Why? Well, they're both 6-6. This is a playoff game, right? So if Banjo Blitz can somehow find a way to pull off the upset, that would put Deuce in big trouble for the playoffs. I got the 6 versus No More. Why? Well, again, the 6, trying to win the division. And then also with No More there, after Billsy lost, you can see there is now a battle for the second seed. So that could have second seed implications as well. And then the last one, I am going to go Finito versus 12th man, even though it is a bit of a meaningless one. It's not that meaningless for Finito, as he's going for the perfect season against a pretty decent competitor in the 12th man. So this is probably one of the last chances that Finito will have to lose that perfect record. Anyways, folks, so as you can see, we have Green Lightning, Center Tiger 21, Eat a Bag of Nicks, Say My Name, and Biscuits and Gravy right now as the 5 Hugh Jackson candidates. As always, I will put polls up for voting on the game of the week, and I hope you're excited to get past this week and see what that Flex 14 schedule is going to look like. Good luck, everybody.